Welcome to another edition of Marijuana Channel One. It is my pleasure this morning to talk to the CEO of BioHarvest Sciences, Ilan Sobel. Thank you for joining us today.
David, it's an absolute pleasure to be on your network and on your show.
So you are in Israel, and BioHarvest Sciences is an Israeli and Canadian company. Is that right?
Correct. We are listed on the Canadian Securities Exchange. We're also listed on the OTCQB, and our R&D activities are largely done here in Israel. But I'm actually happy to say we're right now doing some pretty interesting R&D in Canada as well with one of our partners there. So it's kind of basically bringing the two countries closer together. And I guess that's what cannabis has done with many Israeli cannabis companies and the opportunities that the Canadian market and the Canadian exchanges provide companies like ourselves. It's a good win-win.
Yeah, so I want to hear more about BioHarvest Sciences. You know, it's interesting for us in the U.S., the Israeli cannabis market has really been hyper-focused on medical cannabis, and has, unlike the U.S., really from the get-go worked with universities and medical institutions and done hardcore scientific research, despite the fact that we had international prohibition. And now those investments have started to pay off as international and cannabis is becoming more mainstreamed. Tell me a little bit about BioHarvest Sciences and its evolution.
Well, what's interesting is that we're not a cannabis company. We are a biotech company with platform technology. And in fact, we are the global leaders in plant cell biology. We've been doing this since 2007. So that's 15 years of building expertise and capabilities. And with that expertise and capabilities, David, we've built the capabilities to unlock the secrets of cellular plant biology better than any other company in the world. Now, what does that mean to the viewer out there? What it means is that we have a platform technology where we're able to take any plant out there. And, God gave us 500,000 plants in day 3 of creating the world. One of those, fortunately, was the cannabis plant. But we can take any plant, and those plants, they each contain critical phytomedicinal compounds. So that could be polyphenols. Many people in America understand antioxidants, and of course, cannabinoids. So our technology, what it does is we're able, through literally taking the plant once, and we take cells from the plant throughout the plant's growth life cycle. And we take cells from all parts of the plant. And we've developed this unique AI expertise where we can actually look at all the millions of cells, and we can figure out which cells are the really smart cells that are responsible for eliciting the critical phytomedicinal compounds, polyphenols, antioxidants, cannabinoids. And we take those cells and we start to grow those cells in solid media, in a petri dish. And over time, we've developed this unique technology where we're able to take those cells and grow them in massive industrial scale bioreactors. And if you think about it, what does an industrial scale bioreactor look like? I'm not going to stand up here, but I'm 6'2". You think, 7 foot high, maybe it's 1.5 meters wide. And each of these bioreactors, we can produce from the cells. We have, in the case of cannabis, we have been able to really break biological barriers, create biological history. And we were able to ensure that every cell was able to grow a trichome. And we all know trichome is the most important part of the plant. which is the mini factory that produces the cannabinoids, terpenes, and flavonoids. So inside our bioreactors, the cells grow trichomes. And that's why inside our bioreactors, we produce today 93% trichome.
Unbelievable.
So almost like bubble hash in the bioreactors. And this happens every 3 weeks. On average, we produce 8 to 9 kilos of bubble hash in one of these bioreactors because we're in perpetual flowering. We don't go through the regular, stages that you go through from a, vegetative and, growth cycle into your flowering, and the plant dies and you start, from the beginning. That's in the best multi-state operators, 12 to 16 weeks, let's say. No, we don't have to deal with that because we figured out how to get the cells of the most important part to grow the trichomes. And then, like I said, we're in perpetual flowering, and then we harvest every 3 weeks. We're harvesting our actual material, which is, literally the trichomes. We dry them, we have this drying technology, and you're left with this. This is our biomass. You can show this to the audience here. I have some biomass here.
So it's so essentially this is, or let me ask the question, is what you're talking about really a synthetic process? You're synthesizing.
No. We are, you can see how upset I got there. We are the antithesis, right, of biosynthesis or synthesis. Okay, our process basically is a non-GMO process. We do not in any way, shape, or form, we do not change the actual structural molecular composition of the actual cells themselves. Therefore, we're non-GMO. And that's why this material that we produce, we are the only company in the world that can grow trichomes in liquid media in a way that we're really bringing the power of full spectrum cannabis together with obviously multiple cannabinoids coming together. And the power of our technology is that we're actually able, through altering the conditions, we can actually tune our cannabinoids, right? Which allows us to get actual, let's call it certificates of analysis that you will never find with a regular agricultural grown, traditional grown, indoor grown cannabis plant. And we demonstrated that about 3 months ago when we shared a certificate of analysis where we showed how we took a hemp plant. And we did this just to show the gravity and the magnitude of the technology, where we took a hemp plant which had roughly 3% of CBD, right? Obviously no THC. And we took that plant, we put it through our system. And through our technology, where we're able to increase significantly the levels of the cannabinoids, we came up with a proposition which went from 3% cannabinoids to 36% cannabinoids. And we took the CBD from 3% to 18%. And we took the THC, total THC, from literally 0.09, right, to 7.5%. And we were able to grow significant levels of CBDV, the verins, CBDV of 4.5%, THCV of 2.5%, plus significant amounts of CBG, CBC, CBN. And that provided us a certificate of analysis where, when you show this to people, whether it's recreational or more specific medicinal, people look at this and go, we've never seen a composition of cannabinoids like this, all working together in full spectrum. And that's why, as we bring this and commercialize our technology in the market through the different strategies we're going to be deploying, we're going to be, providing a level of cannabis that I believe cannabis consumers have never seen before. And frankly, from an economics perspective, the lowest cost in the business by far, and we know very well the costs of the multi-state operators out there. And importantly, because we are a biotech company that's all focused on health and wellness and making sure that we're driving transformational positive change in people's health and wellness in a way that preserves the planet. We have sustainability credentials that are second to none in an industry that really now is plagued by sustainability challenges, whether it's around water management, whether it's around energy management. So that's really what the technology allows us to bring. But important to understand, we do this in cannabis, we do this in polyphenol antioxidants, and there are many other verticals that we will build in our company as we aspire to build a multi-billion-dollar biotech platform technology company, servicing multiple critical verticals, of which cannabis is one of them.
You started by saying that you're not a cannabis company. So then is the strategy to license the technology to licensed cannabis companies?
So I think, you know, the context of my comments is very much in the sense of how we think. We're a biotech company, okay? We have platform technology. So that's where we start. Now,
right. You know, my question is really about production, whether or not you're interested in licensing the intellectual property so that others can build that technology, or whether you will be a provider in actually producing and doing the biofarming yourself.
It's a great question, and I get asked the licensing question all the time from our shareholder partners, from other companies out there across multiple different industries that are looking to license our technology.
Right. Yeah.
The gravity and the magnitude of change that it can drive in an industry, and we have an amazing IP, amazing amount of IP as it relates to deep IP in the context of patents. We have multiple patents across critical geographic jurisdictions. Our patents are all process, utility, and composition. So they, it's very, very robust patents. But frankly, coming from 18 years as a senior executive at the Coca-Cola company, I understand that patents are really, really important, but know-how is king. Where I was going in the context of our IP, so our IP is very much driven on the R&D side and the manufacturing side. Okay, there's a lot of IP in our manufacturing, so that's why when it comes to licensing, we're not in the business of licensing. Okay, we have highly skilled, probably the best plant cell biologists, PhD plant cell biologists in the world, enormous experience. Our plant cell biologists, most of them have been with us literally since 2007. It's 15 years of cumulative learnings. And, we got to cannabis after doing basically the same process with red grape cells, right? Then we went to the olive cell, which was more complex than the red grape. Then we went to pomegranate, which was really difficult. And then we said, you know what? We need to now look at the toughest plant in the plant kingdom, and that was cannabis. Right. And at that time, this is 3-4 years ago, the cannabis market was really, heating up, and we really felt that we could push our technology into this area. So, whilst we've really created history in what we're doing is, is super connected between the R&D side and the manufacturing side. And therefore, we're not going to be literally franchising or licensing in any way our technology. However, partners are critical. So we have identified in our cannabis strategy 3 critical highways that we're going to participate in as part of a very robust, what I would call segmented execution strategy. And those 3 highways, as I articulate them, are the federal hemp highway. Why? 2, the state-by-state cannabis highway. And then 3 is the FDA, DEA cannabis drug development highway. So now let's step back and look at partners in the context of the 3 highways. Okay. The first highway, being the federal hemp highway, is a highway, if you look at the US, it's a $6 billion business today. It's growing at a CAGR, compound annual growth rate, 17, 18%. And frankly, 40% of sales, of hemp sales today in the US is via e-commerce. And we have, through our VINIA product, which is our red grape cell product that we sell today as a dietary supplement, we have built a commercial machine, an e-commerce machine, literally with pipes into tens of thousands of people's homes. And we have amazing knowledge from an e-commerce funnel perspective, marketing direct to consumer, direct to doctor, right? These are critical channels that we focus on as we build this business. And in fact, last year, one SKU, and this is VINIA over here. This is a bottle of VINIA from Israel. One SKU of VINIA last year delivered north of $5.5 million of revenue direct to the consumer. And we just started because we only opened our factory really and started to scale in September last year.
So you'll be introducing, sorry for interrupting, you'll be introducing then hemp-derived products similar to that through those exact same channels. So you'll leverage those doors, you'll leverage that distribution. Do you believe that the consumers who are using your first wine-based product will be receptive to cannabis-based treatments as well?
Absolutely, specifically, obviously, on the hemp side. Now, it's critical to differentiate yourself in any market, specifically hemp, right? And so, as I articulated a little bit before, our capabilities in the COA that we have, for us, because we're able to extract very high levels of CBD and CBDV with very unique ratios. We have an ability to bring a product to market, which we call CBD to the power of V. And it's an amazing product, which has got basically CBD, CBDV 4-to-1. You don't find those kind of ratios out there in the market. So it's an amazing, hemp-based proposition, which is really going to help focus on inflammation, right? Really, basically calming, which is critical on where CBD and CBDV play from an overall, call it health and wellness need state. At the same time, we're going to leverage the power of our polyphenol antioxidant vertical, which is where our VINIA red grape cell product plays, our olive cell and pomegranate cell products will come in the future, and actually look to bring them together with our hemp-based products.
Right, yeah.
All leveraging the power of our e-commerce machine. So this we're going to do ourselves.
And that's all legal now, right? Because it's hemp based. You can sell that through international channels now without regulation. Is that correct?
Correct. And we would sell it as a dietary supplement, and we would obviously go through all the critical processes that the FDA requires as a dietary supplement. And I think that area is starting to, and appropriately so, have more regulation, which will be good for players like us. And we'll continue to partner and adhere to the FDA. Because the hemp market today, as you referenced 40% of hemp or CBD products or more are purchased through e-commerce. They're purchased at gas stations and pop-up boutiques. There's relatively little testing and no standards as to purity. What's your approach? You have to be able to, you have the good, the bad, and the ugly, right, in this area. And I think the bad and the ugly is 95%.
Right, yeah.
A handful of products out there that are good, right? And that needs to change. It needs that whole ratio. The good needs to be 99%. So we really, looking forward to, I know the FDA have been putting a lot of resources in this area. They're going to come out with much stronger, regulation, guidance and regulation in these critical areas, testing protocols, which are going to be, very, very important. And that's
labeling, all kinds of stuff.
And that plays into our favor.
When will we start seeing product?
Our intention is to bring those products to market this year.
That's
half
2020, 2023. We'll be seeing that.
2023, yeah. That's
And that will be under the BioHarvest Sciences brand, or will you have different brands?
Yeah, like basically everything will be under the umbrella of BioHarvest Sciences. And then we have our, different hemp-based, call it like hemp plus propositions. We have, as I said, we have CBD to the power of V, which is our CBD and CBDV together.
Trademarked. I sense a trademark there.
Right. And we also have what we've, as I said, this is all public information. I've shared this with our shareholder partners in the last, few months. We also have, when we bring our VINIA product together with CBD and CBDV, which is an amazing product when you think about it from, if you think about the human body and just dealing with inflammation as part of the aging process, that inflammation, right, can either be addressed through the impact of cannabinoids or the impact of blood flow, right? Because blood flow addresses inflammation. So the power of the two coming together is going to be an amazing product. Bottom line is, when you're 65 plus, right, one of the big challenges that you're looking for is dealing with inflammation, dealing with, those nagging aches that you have. Hence people start to go to a product. This would be an amazing product for those consumers with high solubility and bioavailability, leveraging the power of blood flow and the power of cannabinoids together.
Yeah, and available OTC, so that you don't need a prescription to access. Let's talk about phase 2.
We'll move to the other highways. Other highways.
Yeah.
More interesting. So the second highway is our state-by-state cannabis highway. Okay.
Much more complicated. Every state has different regulations, different protocols for being licensed, different limitations in what you can and cannot sell. How are you going to address that?
30 billion market, and strategy is all about choosing what not to do. So we're very focused. We're very focused on having the right product, market, and this is when we get to partners. Remember, we talked about partners a little while ago. You asked the question. It's all about finding the right product, market, partner fit. Okay. And so right now, we are having active dialogues with key partners across markets that we believe we have the right product market fit. And, this is something important. You talk about the word partner. I don't like to use the word partner. We use the word internally, an anchor partner. Okay. So what's the difference?
Yeah. What's the difference?
So, you can have 15 partners, right? But you have 1 or 2 anchor partners. And it actually, again, it comes back from, you're a creature of a little bit of your past experience. It comes back to the Coca-Cola company, which was, a franchise business. Right? Coca-Cola company in the US literally had 200 bottling partners where they, back in the day, they cut up the territories, and it was very, very localized, very, very parochial. And then the company moved and basically said, look, we need to have no more than 3 or 4 anchor partners in the US, and let's call it 7 or 8 anchor partners globally. And it's much more strategic. And, there's a level of transparency. There's a level of literally collaboration. It needs to be congruency of values. And when you start to do that, it's much easier to be successful. So we're looking right now for anchor partners in markets like the US and Canada.
And so that means MSOs, essentially?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's important because it goes back to what I said to you before. As CEO, with the vision with my team, building a multi-billion-dollar biotech company, platform technology with multiple verticals, I don't want to be in a situation where I have 10 partners in cannabis, right? Because that's just going to consume so much time, energy, resources. You want to have 1 or 2 partners in cannabis that can bring your products to market in this particular highway, and so that we can really look at taking our resources and going to other verticals and continue to build the company. Right. And those are those long-lasting strategic relationships that, literally are 20, 30, 40-year relationships. And that's what we're looking for. And I'm spending a lot of time talking to the right people and making sure that the conversations are the right conversations. And,
right.
It's very, very important. It's probably the biggest, strategic choice that we're going to make in 2023 is finding that right anchor partner.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me how that works. So because it's balkanized, what I manufacture in New York, I can't sell in New Jersey or Connecticut, even though they are a tri-state market. And you've seen those governors try to coordinate their legal rollouts with, moderate success and many challenges. So how do you, if you're only going to have a couple of anchor partners, and I love that notion, how do you do that when, Curaleaf can't sell the same product in every market it's in?
Yeah, it's a great provocation. And when you ask that question to anybody that's in the traditional cannabis space, whether it's doing indoor cultivation or even outdoor, they'll have a very different answer to what I'm going to share with you now. The key insight comes down to one critical component of our technology, which is around the capital that's required to build a plant. So based on my benchmarking, our technology is at least 7 times more capital efficient than indoor. And I'll give you a case in point. We just built in Israel. It's the same technology, it's platform technology for our VINIA product. We built during COVID, with, you can imagine, freight costs through the roof, a 25-ton facility per year for roughly about $4 million US. And do the math based on my pricing on the website, we generate about $3,000 a kilo in revenue. So if you take 25.
So you see yourself as a partner. I guess that's what you're. If I'm understanding what you're saying, you see yourself as building these facilities in these markets. Correct. In that phase too.
The whole notion of it does. Obviously, the federal legalization of cannabis in the US is going to be a game changer for everybody. Right. It will be a game changer for us. But currently, because my cost of capital spend in order to produce, significant amounts of cannabis, I go into a marketplace, right? And literally for $4 to $5 million, let's add another $1 million, because with cannabis, you have extra security costs to be compliant with all the local standards as well, and regulatory costs, etc. So let's say for $5 million, I can build easily up to 25 tons, or scale it down for $3.5, $4 million, go down to 10 to 15 tons, and it takes me 12 months to build that. And with my anchor partner, I'm going to say, anchor partner, let's start with state A. Let's get the strategy right. And then we'll go and we'll copy paste. We'll lift and shift and copy paste. And we'll go from state to state where we have the right product market fit.
And you have the right anchor partner. So right. You say, okay, right. let's look at Florida or California or New York or Michigan or whatever, and let's use that as a test marketplace. What's your expectation in terms of the federal easing of regulations, and specifically, how will that impact? I mean, if you're 6 months into building a single state facility and interstate commerce comes online, does that set you back or give you a leg up?
No, I think so. A couple of things, with having a 3-pronged highway strategy for cannabis, and we'll talk about the third highway in a second, which is on the cannabis drug development with another anchor partner that we've already signed a deal with. Mm-hmm. The whole notion of when will federalization happen and what is the impact, it's not a discussion in the corridors of our company, right? Because ultimately we're executing a strategy. My federal hemp strategy, and we just talked about it, it doesn't impact that, right?
Right. As we just and that's your near term anyway. That's your 12 months.
And I'm nimble in the context of the state by state, right? We're nimble. We can operate really well right now because I can just go state by state. It's very, very quick. And if there is, federal legalization, we'll enjoy the benefits. The whole notion of, having one plant and servicing a much bigger catchment area. I'll just build bigger plants. I'll be able to take my efficiencies up even more. All right. So there's a win-win.
And you'll be able to export to adjacent markets as well. Assuming that there's some kind of standardization. It's based on standards, right? I mean, you've still got to have testing and
you got to keep your eyes on your fries, and that's what we're very, very focused on. One thing, 18 years at Coke taught me how to focus, and so let those conversations happen. I think the conversations that are happening in the context of the third highway.
Before I get to the third, let me ask you one last question, because I want to make sure that I've got this clear. So when you address the adult use cannabis market, what kind of products will you be bringing to market? The same kind of supplements that you're looking at in the hemp? Or are you looking, because obviously adult use, there's still tons of flower. And I'm going to imagine that, given your extensive background at Coca-Cola, that you're looking at the beverage and, infused edible market as well.
So right now, we have actually brought to the marketplace, we announced, I think it was end of October, a unique composition, which was our high CBD composition, which we just talked about, which is the 36% COA with high CBD, good levels of THC, and then all the verins and the other cannabinoids. We are now working on a high THC version, all right, which will then have similarly multiple different cannabinoids as part of that, which would be more focused, to some extent, when you're channeling that into the recreational market where there's the right product market fit, but also from a medicinal market, you're addressing, more different types of indications, potentially more in the area of pain management, as it relates to the need to have higher THC levels. So, we will have the right portfolio. Again, it's going to be focused, right? We will have the right portfolio. What's great about this product, okay, is that you can smoke it, you can literally take it into crude oil and go into oils and go into vaping. And then what's really unique about this product, because you've got the trichomes, is that it's very easy for the human body to be able to basically have optimal solubility and bioavailability as the trichomes actually pass through into the intestinal tract and start to get the cannabinoids start to get broken down and start to work, as part of their roles in the endocannabinoidal system with the receptors. So, we have unique product form. We'll have very unique COAs. You're not going to have 10, I'm not bringing 10 flowers to the marketplace. We do have the ability to tune our cannabinoids, right? So we can tune these, core formulations, let's call it, in order to address certain different applications. And yes, it can go all the way through across multiple different let's call it delivery mechanisms.
Right. So you're looking at the full spectrum. You're not really going to tell me which one you're going to focus on. It'll be opportunistic when you get down there, but it'll be both on the pharmaceutical channels as well as the adult use consumables.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, to play in those markets, you're acutely aware. You have some markets like Florida, like Pennsylvania, which are significant
medical,
medical markets, and there is in that medical market, there's also a level of recreational use, but you still, there's still the need to get an actual medicinal license to go through a process in order to do that. And you would expect most of the usage specifically in the market in Florida is for medicinal reasons. But, we will have formulations that can play across both medicinal markets, but also into markets which are adult use and medicinal markets.
Right. Well, and I like the terminology. It's medicinal and nutraceutical. I mean, essentially, it's plant-based lifestyle. So it's not just medicine; it's prophylactic as well. So let's talk about the third, the third lane, the FDA, DEA evolving landscape. You just released a presser about an association with Royal Emerald Pharmaceutical. Tell me about that.
So, this market is very, very interesting. And I think, it's probably a blind spot of many, many companies. But you have to have the right capabilities to be able to play in on the specific highway. And that's specifically around the fact that, look, when you step back, you have a situation right now where you have today in the US 4 to 5 million registered medicinal users, and it's going to double in the next 5 years. And let's say, God forbid, I have Crohn's disease, right? And I've got my medicinal license, and I come into, David's store, and David's the bud tender. And I'm like, okay, David, tell me, I have Crohn's disease, I have a license, what do I take? And David has a varying background from, high school degree to being a bartender for 10 years, got promoted to a bud tender, and, maybe, very, very knowledgeable, but ultimately you're not a medicinal doctor. That's actually telling me.
Well, you're legally prohibited from discussing the benefits of cannabis in our system. We're not allowed to tell you that this is good for Crohn's. We can say other people who have Crohn's have had success with this product, but I can't tell you that.
So you're 100% correct in how it's articulated. But at the end of the day, let's talk truth here. At the end of the day, you have somebody that has a medical indication that wants to take cannabis, that is being advised by somebody who is not a medical professional. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
As it relates to the cannabinoid blends, and as it relates to dosage. Okay. So you got to ask yourself, is this a sustainable situation in the modern world today? And I think this is where there's such a big opportunity, because ultimately the pharma companies, they understand that their lunch is getting eaten. If you look at Medicaid prescriptions in markets where cannabis is legalized, across all the core indications from anxiety all the way through to pain management, to dealing with epilepsy, you name it.
PTSD, anxiety. Yeah.
It's literally, I have a chart that I show investor partners, and it's from Medicaid, and it shows 10% reduction in prescription. And you have massive substitution from these synthesized compounds, right, into cannabis. Now, it's great, and that just shows you the power of the plant. Okay, when it's has the ultimately when it's tested the right way, when it has the right blend of cannabinoids, when in the right dosages, and that's really the opportunity. And those pharma companies are starting to realize, look, we have to start to play here, because when cannabis starts to come in, it's like a generic on steroids. It starts to doesn't just destroy one specific indication. It goes across 5 or 7 indications, and it has massive. There's a lot of studies being done, and one recent study that was released about 3 or 4 months ago, talking about the actual market cap impact that cannabis is having on the drug companies. And I will tell you, because we're at the table, there are some drug companies today that are saying, hey, we have to start looking at how we're going to get into the space.
And there's been some cracking already, right? GW Pharmaceuticals a couple of years back with
Epidiolex, but that was just a singular cannabinoid with CBD.
That's right. But that was FDA approved, right? So that was the thing was that the FDA actually said, okay, we're going to allow this to come to market, and you had buy-in from the American Epilepsy Association that yes, cannabis is really the only thing that's efficacious. So that was the beginning. That's been a couple of years though now.
Well, I think you're going to see. You're seeing that. I believe you'll start to see the acceleration of that path, because of, number one, I think that from a public health perspective, you look at today, you have in the US, you have a massive mental health crisis. You have a massive pain management crisis.
Amen. Yeah.
cannabis, is a critical part of that solution, but that cannabis solution has to be done in a way where you're optimizing the cannabinoids, you're optimizing the quality, and you know what the dosage is, and you're managing safety. And that's the FDA's number one priority, is safety, and then they'll move to efficacy.
So as part of that walk up there, the industry is focusing on research and development, R&D. And that's essentially what you've announced is your participation in that type of R&D with Royal Emerald. Is that correct?
Correct. And as you probably know, there are 575 DEA licensed entities in the US, which consist mostly around actual pharma companies, as well as major academic medical institutions.
Few universities, that's right.
Okay. And those 575 plus, and I believe it's growing every single day, they have to buy their cannabis from today. There are 7 companies out there that have bulk DEA cannabis licenses. And if these universities or pharma companies want to do any type of research, which is part of the IND FDA process, they have to buy the cannabis from these DEA bulk cannabis registered companies, of which Royal Emerald is, we believe, the leading company in the space. And what Royal Emerald saw in our company and our capabilities and our materials is the fact that we number one, we have very unique material, which is purpose fit for this medical research. Why? Because of the breadth of cannabinoids. 2, we have unique batch consistency. And again, that goes back to what the FDA is going to be looking for as it relates to safety, as it relates to efficacy. You have to have consistency. And if pharma are going to get into drug development, pharma knows 2 things. The basis of any pharma company core values, is around consistency, which is why pharma moved initially from the plant into the laboratory to synthesize compounds, because they needed the consistency. And then the other element is patentability. And what BioHarvest brings with our technology is we have unique batch by batch consistency. And secondly, because of our unique composition, you're actually able to patent the composition, as well as actually patenting the actual delivery action from an indication perspective. And that's part of the basic building blocks of any pharma company's DNA. So as a result of the unique licenses that Royal Emerald has, the vision and the spirit and the values the focus that they have and really want to play a critical role in the development of these cannabis-based pharmaceutical drugs. This is a partnership where it's easy, it's fun, it's good people. And I'm really, really looking forward, myself and Douglas and our respective teams, in partnering together and sitting across the table from some of those more progressive pharma companies, from some of the best academic and medical institutions in the US, and you know who they are, that are saying, look, we used to get stuff from the University of Mississippi before, right?
Yeah,
one of the reasons why the DEA broadened the scope. Give us material that you believe from a cannabinoid base is going to be able to drive significant human utility value, be able to really make an impact with different indications. Let us start to pioneer that research, starting in vitro, then going to clinical trials, and really going through the whole, development process. Now, there is a short-term revenue stream because that cannabis is not being sold at prices of let's say the B2B price of cannabis in different markets, right? It's a grade of cannabis that's very, very unique. It's research cannabis, okay? So it's a very different economics. Plus, have no 280E, okay? And that's all about,
amazing. Amazing. So you can actually write off all this expensive research and development.
The hemp, I have no 280E. Yes, if we play in the MSO, you have to deal with the laws of the country and the states. No problem. And then on the federal side, you're not dealing with it. So you have a balanced mix, and therefore you're able to optimize margins and profitability. So you're basically, you have short-term revenue, which is the actual materials that you're providing. You also, by the way, you have major government agencies. The tenders that are out there right now for NIDA, National Institute of Drug Abuse, right? For the Institute of Aging, for Veteran Affairs. Think of it. We have 9 million veterans. America has 9 million veterans, right? You know, the relationship and understanding the challenges that the veterans are dealing with and the opportunity to actually bring to the veterans unique cannabis products.
Yeah.
And to also potentially, and this is a big one, David, to be able to democratize the highest grade of cannabis because of our economic advantage. This is something that needs to be done as well. So government agencies like Veteran Affairs, NIDA, the aging agencies, they have massive tenders. There's huge grants that they're also putting on the table to drive the development.
And they're involved and receptive to participating in this type of research.
Amen.
So this is a change. It's a sea change in federal policy. What does 2023 predictions look like? Is this going to be a foundational year for you and the industry? Or do you see that we'll have movement along those regulatory agencies around that public awareness of safety and testing and counterindications?
I think 2023 will definitely see positive change on the regulatory side, at least for companies like us. I think it will provide greater guidelines and clarity on the different where to play and where not to play. Take out the gray, make it clearer, make it fairer, and ultimately it all has to be done in the context of public interest, and that's all around safety. Safety first, and then ultimately you want to get to efficacy. So yes, it's going to happen. You know, for us as a company, 2023 is a big year. You know, we had a big year last year. We tripled our revenue. We aim to 3x our revenue again in 2023 at least. You know, we're scaling our VINIA business across the US, moving into other geographies, Canada, as well as into Asia. We're going to be launching a dietary supplement, professional super blood flow protein bar into the market, which we're really excited about. So it's a lot more innovation. And then obviously in the cannabis space, with our partnership with Royal Emerald, hitting the ground, boots on the street, going to those 575 customers and saying, hey, look what we got, right? And how can this fit with your vision to really, work with us to pioneer cannabis-based drug development. And then, ultimately the hemp stuff is we're focused on delivering as well in the second half of the year. And then it's for us, landing that anchor partner, and that's something that's really, really important.
We're at the end of our time, but I'm going to give you the opportunity to one final word. Ilan Sobel, BioHarvest Sciences CEO, take us home.
I think I'll leave you just with and your viewers with a thought around investing. One of the passion points I have is around purposeful investment. And I think, today, literally you live, you breathe, you wear, you drive, you use those companies that you invest in. And you want to make sure that you're investing in companies that are really defining a unique purpose in our ecosystem, and companies that you can feel that your cash that you're putting into the company, or literally the role that you're playing as an investor partner. And we have thousands of investor partners in BioHarvest that play a critical role as partners, to myself in running the business. Literally every Wednesday night I have coffee with Ilan, where I sit and talk like this with 5 or 6 investors. And it's great because I really get to feel the sentiment, and you'd be surprised, David, some of the ideas, some of the things that I put on the table, those were seeds that came from questions from investors. What about this? Have you thought about this? And I get emails every day from investors with thoughts, ideas. Have you seen this clinical? Have you done this? Have you thought about this? And I would just say, find companies that are purposeful, find companies where there's a level of transparency where you can reach the CEO, where you can actually, feel that, yes, it's a public company, but, you have a voice and you feel like you are part of a movement of change to make the world a better place. And that's why, I love this job so much. And I feel really, really privileged to be in this seat, working with an amazing dream team of people around me that are all just maniacally focused on changing the world, because there's no better energy. There's no better. I'm fortunate. People say to me, Ilan, how can you have such high energy? Well, firstly, I'm on VINIA, but that's a separate discussion, right? But really, in addition to that, it's spiritual energy, or I kind of call it spiritual energy, where I wake up every morning to at least 15 to 20 product reviews, verified product reviews on VINIA. And when people are telling me what a dramatic change we're making to their life, from a physical blood flow impacting physical energy, impacting mental alertness, impacting, overall cardiovascular health, it gives you a huge, in Hebrew we say chizuk, gives you huge strength to be able to keep on marching on and dealing with the challenges that we have to deal every day in the business world. So I would just say to your viewers, find the right companies, whether it's in cannabis or whether it's in other industries. Find companies that are all around being purposeful in what they're doing every single minute of the day.
Thank you so much. I think that was a great wrap up. I've enjoyed our conversation.
Likewise.
If folks want to get more information, where should they go?
So thank you. They can go to our website, bioharvest.com. They can email me, Ilan@bioharvest.com. I try to keep a 48-hour SLA, service level agreement, to respond to you. So Ilan, ILAN, @bioharvest.com. Or they can email Justin@bioharvest.com. Justin is our lead on our dream team for all investor relations work. That's JUSTIN@bioharvest.com. And thank you for this opportunity. I really enjoyed the provocations and the discussion that we